ripped off, out of pocket, short-changed. No one likes getting a bad deal.
But knowing who to trust can be tough.
This company was just giving me the runaround.
So when your money is under threat and you think you've lost out, Rip-Off Britain is here to help.
We'll be investigating the companies that you say are letting you down.
I was so angry. They took away a lot from me.
And we're taking on the scammers who are causing heartache and misery.
And I was such a mess. Somebody's just taken all my life savings out of my account.
So whether it's a mistake that's left you out of pocket or a blatant rip-off, we're here to help you find out what you can do about it. This is Rip-Off Britain.
Hello and welcome to Rip-Off Britain, here to arm you with everything that you need to save you money, stay safe, and importantly, avoid getting caught out.
Well, today we've got our magnifying glasses out looking at the teeny tiny small print that companies point to when you step up and complain. It might be there in black and white, but time and again you tell us it feels far from fair.
Also today, small businesses with a big problem. The entrepreneurs who unwittingly tied the knot with one online bridal directory and are now finding it impossible to break free.
I spoke to one of the ladies there and told her that we were disputing the invoice. She said, we'll see you in court.
And small print in the supermarket aisles. Those price labels under products that give you a price per item are supposed to make it easy to work out if you're getting a really good deal, but they often end up just confusing matters. So we've been on at stores to get their house in order for years, but now the government watchdog says it is finally cracking down. But will the new rules finally do the trick? But first we turn to a story where the terms and conditions really are shocking. Now, when I first heard about this case, I couldn't quite believe that any company could make the rules play so much to its advantage and land customers who'd previously trusted them liable for thousands of pounds that they never expected to pay. A two-bed end terrace in Stoke-on-Trent, bid starting at £9,000. A two-bed apartment in Birmingham, bid starting at £5,000. Or how about this? A two-bed doer-upper in County Durham, the bids for this one are starting at just £1,000. All very tempting, you might say, if you've got a little nest egg that you'd like to invest in bricks and mortar. All those properties were listed with the Birmingham-based property auctioneer, BP Auctions. It prides itself on giving professional and honest advice. So seemed to be just the ticket to help Guy Moxey from Northampton to take the first step to transforming his life.
I was really excited that this could be a new career. I could renovate the property, I may let it out, I may buy another one because I'll have an investment in this one. So yeah, super excited.
The property that caught Guy's eye was this place, a three-bedroom terraced house in County Durham.
The price was good, the location was really good. It had 3 bedrooms and it also, most importantly, didn't have any tenants in.
So we picked up the phone to BP Auctions and asked to view the house, but he was told that wasn't possible. But not wanting to miss out on what seemed like the perfect property, Guy decided to bid on it sight unseen.
When it ended and I realised I was the winner, I didn't believe it, to be honest with you, to start with, but I won a house. And I won it for £28,500.
Guy paid BP Auctions an £8,000 deposit, plus £1,400 in admin fees, and appointed a solicitor. But then, I'm afraid, the excitement of buying at auction came to a very abrupt stop when his solicitor revealed that the house was rather different to the one described in the auction listing.
And my solicitor contacted me and suggested that she thinks the property might be a 2-bedroom property. Next, she informed me that there are tenants in the property. And I questioned her because on the listing on BP Auctions, it says that it was a vacant possession. She explained to me that there were tenants in there, and as far as she's aware, they're not paying any rent.
But before Guy could get his head around that bombshell, the solicitor dropped another. The paperwork showed that Guy was liable to pay the rent arrears, all 7 months of it currently standing at £2,870.
So at this point, I was really worried because I've got no experience of buying property, and I really wanted a property that didn't have tenants. So I really started to panic. I was angry with BP Auctions because on their listing, it didn't say that there were tenants in there.
But the next bill would turn out to dwarf the rent arrears. Another clause in the sales contract meant that Guy would have to pay the seller's fees, expenses and legal costs, as well as his own. The extras added up to almost £14,000, on top of the £28,500 that he'd agreed to buy the house for.
With the money just going up and up, my stress levels were just out of control, and I wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't eating properly either. I spoke to my solicitor and she informed me that I had to pay these fees. I was absolutely devastated and I didn't know what I was going to do.
After more sleepless nights, Guy knew he just had to walk away, even though it meant forfeiting the £9,400 that he'd paid in deposit and admin fees. Guy now realises that if he'd hired a solicitor, or even just insisted on viewing the house before bidding on it, he could have avoided all of this. Even so, he believes the original listing should at least have been accurate.
It was listed incorrectly by BP Auctions. There was 3 bedrooms, but really 2. There were tenants in there when there shouldn't have been tenants in there. And I would say this ends in people like me not getting property that isn't even close to what was advertised, not to mention being hugely out of pocket.
Guy's brush with BP Auctions has shattered his dreams of a new career as a property investor.
That money was the only money I had to start an investment, and now I'll never be able to do that.
Well, I have to say that I'm shocked at that. I don't quite know what to make of it myself, but I can't think of a better person to help us understand the background to this story than our lawyer, Gary Rycroft. So welcome, Gary. We'll be coming to Gary in a minute, but also with us, and a big welcome to Saeed Shah, who is another would-be house buyer who has had an experience with BP Auctions. What's your story?
Well, same thing happened to me. Me and my wife, we decided that, we will go into property. I took the loan and I saw BP Auction, their properties, they were going for very cheap prices. I bid on this property.
So what did you bid initially?
My bid was 37,000 and nobody bid above that. And they said, oh, you are the winner.
And so this was going to be your dream place, was it?
Exactly, yeah.
Because you've got 5 children.
Yeah.
And, of course, your lovely wife.
So we immediately paid the deposit, which was £7,000. And then just before a couple of days of completion, BP Auction sent us a completion statement and demanded 21,000 on top of the bid price. I was shocked that they were saying that this is a legal fee and the rent arrears. Now, rent arrears, they demanded £16,000.
So obviously at this point you're thinking, I can't do it.
My solicitor started, communicating with their solicitor, and they completely refused to provide any evidence, any documentation to back up their demand.
So what money were you out? Because you obviously had paid a deposit, hadn't you?
Yes, in total it was £8,400.
And no house at the end of it, nothing, and a lot of mystery, really. So, Gary, how are you working your way through this situation?
I've got to say, Gloria, that the crucial point about an auction is that when that hammer comes down, that is the significant legal point in time when you agree legally to buy that property. So Saeed should have appointed his solicitor to act for him before he made a bid, so that he was fully aware of all the terms and conditions that are in that small print.
But what's interesting about this, you kept an eye on the house, didn't you? And what did you discover?
My property has been sold 3 times and still it's on the auction. And all the buyers, apparently, they would have lost their deposit for the same excuses.
You see, anybody watching this, myself included, I'd say, this can't be legal.
Well, to be clear, BP Auctions are operating within a legal framework. There's a fine line between mis-selling and the duty on the buyer to do all their homework. Now, it might be that BP Auctions would say, well, you assumed that there might not be rent arrears, but did you ask the question? Once that hammer comes down, you can no longer ask any questions. So any questions you want to ask need to be asked before the auction.
So after this experience, Saeed, how does it leave you feeling?
Very angry, because I lost money. This money should have been spent on my children.
Well, I'm sorry, Saeed, that has happened to you. It's a big lesson. And I hope you've learned something from Gary's advice as well.
Yes.
So I'd like to thank you for coming in very much indeed, and lots of love to your wife and your 5 children.
Thank you.
And Gary, thanks to you for all your advice.
Thanks, Gloria. Thanks, Saeed.
Thanks.
When we spoke to BP Auctions about all of this, it told us that in line with industry practice, it's clear to all customers that they should seek legal advice before bidding on a property. Adding that legal documents are all available to download before an auction begins, and that these are uploaded by the seller's solicitor with BP Auctions not reviewing or advising on them. BP Auctions stressed that it does not benefit from a sale falling through, and that it does not take, add, or benefit from any potential fees contained in a seller's contract. With regards to Guy's case, BP Auctions says that it tries to accommodate viewings when possible, but that none was available for the property he was interested in. However, images were provided, and the listing clearly directed interested parties to the legal documents which had been available for 10 days before the auction, and which Guy downloaded before he started bidding. Those documents included a tenancy agreement, which Guy downloaded twice. As for Saeed's case, BP Auctions said that it understands his frustration and pointed out that it had requested a refund for him, but that this was not possible. It stressed that all legal documents were available on its site weeks before the auction, and that the onus is on the buyer to do the research. BP Auctions said that while it would help chase missing information, it was ultimately up to the seller's solicitor to disclose details of the rent arrears. But it pointed out that since filming, the property had sold without any issues.
Time now for our advice clinic, where we put the nation's best consumer rights brains to work on your problems.
With me in the advice clinic now is Lisa Webb from Consumer Group Which. Lisa, thanks very much for coming in. I've called on you to help Ajinder, who is joining us from Derby. Hello, Ajinder. Hi, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you.
I understand that you spotted an advert for some skin laser treatment online with a company called Skin HQ. Can you tell us what happened next?
It came up on my social media where they were advertising some laser treatment, and I bought the package. And at that time, I was actually having some laser treatment done at another clinic. So Skin HQ told me it's fine, you can buy the voucher and it will stay on your record forever. It doesn't expire, so I can use it whenever my other clinic treatments finish. And by the time I got around to using it, I found out that Skin HQ had closed. I tried calling them, but no response. I tried reaching out via an email address, but still no response. And then finally, I thought, okay, I'm going to call Rip Off Britain and see if anybody can help me.
Well, I'm glad you did that, and let's hope we can. I understand that this treatment costs £644, which is a lot of money. And on the face of it, it looks as though Skin HQ no longer exists. So where does that leave her, Lisa?
Yeah, we've done a bit of digging here, and we can see their social media has gone dark, their shops are shuttered, no one's picking up phones, no one's answering emails. Now, there are ways sometimes to get your money back, but it does often depend on how you paid for something. Very often, if you have a credit card, you can use your Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act to get money back that way, or charge back if you use a debit card.
And how did you pay?
I paid via Klarna, 3 payments.
Right, and is that significant?
It can be. So Klarna and the likes of Klarna, these buy now, pay laters, very often will have a sort of guarantee, a promise that if the thing you buy doesn't materialise, that they'll refund you. The problem that you have with services and beauty treatments, for example, is Klarna very clearly says that they won't cover that under their guarantee. But we know that this company has actually raised quite a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people have been complaining. And so I think it's worth pushing Klarna, because actually they might offer some sort of goodwill gesture here, because quite clearly Ajinder's not at fault.
Well, following on from that, we contacted Klarna on Ajinder's behalf, and it said its buyer protection is in place for all Klarna payment methods, but urged customers to raise a dispute in the Klarna app as soon as possible, as some problems might be subject to a time limit for claims, which which ranges from 30 to 120 days. However, Klarna said customers can always get in touch and its team will do what it can to help, which in your case, Ajinder, includes a full refund of all the money you paid. So how's that for you?
It's amazing. I would have never known that I could get my money back from Klarna. So I'm glad I came to you guys and you dealt with it.
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
It's brilliant news for Ajinder. What I would say is going forwards, for anyone who is thinking of using one of these buy now, pay later schemes, do check the small print to make sure that it will cover you in every circumstance.
Well, Lisa, thanks so much. And Ajinder, thank you for coming to us. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
If, like Ajinder, you'd like your problem tackled in our advice clinic, why not email us at ripoffbritain@bbc.co.uk or send us a message through Facebook, where we are BBC Rip Off Britain.
Now, in October last year, you may remember that we covered the issue of the eye-watering hikes in car insurance premiums. Well, sorry to say, that issue just hasn't gone away. In fact, if our inbox is anything to go by, it's got worse. John Mann, Ted Clark, John Williams, Graham Bellwood and Ron Moody all emailed about this in the space of just 6 days. And by the way, contrary to appearances, it's not just men who write to us.
No. Well, Graham says that his premium has shot up from, and this is staggering, £328 to £1,299. Wow. Despite his circumstances saying exactly the same. And he says it's a ridiculous price increase. You're right there, Graham.
Well, I've received a message from John Williams, and he says that his quote has doubled despite no claims or change in situation. Now, he says the excuses of the insurance industry, general inflation, car parts, garage prices, and so on, just don't cut it. And there's no way that these are responsible for the massive hikes in price.
And Ron from Somerset is facing a 400% increase in his premium. He doesn't drive that much, he says, and he's worked out that his insurance is now costing him £18 a week.
Well, if your insurance is up for renewal soon, the advice is plan ahead. Now, this is according to Martin Lewis, and he says the optimum time to get a quote is 21 days before your renewal is due, while the most expensive time is on the day of renewal itself. And you'll be able to find his podcast with all that useful information about that on BBC Sounds.
Now, I think in the distance I can hear the peal of wedding bells. Well, if you've got the big day planned, and you might well turn to the internet to search for some local independent businesses to help you make the whole sort of day go without a hitch. You would hope, without a hitch. But we've received complaints about one online directory in the business of all things nuptial, and not from its customers, but from the small business owners and entrepreneurs who signed up with it and got more than they bargained for.
Get in tight. And again, well done. Good. Finish. Good. Yes! Good.
Bootle FC on Merseyside prides itself on its competitive spirit.
Let's go again. Well done.
But off the pitch, the not-for-profit club is also busy with community work. Joe Dorham and Joe Johnson are trustees here at the club.
We have a number of football teams. Our first team playing in the Northern Premier League West. We've been gone over 60 years. My granddad was a founder member.
Yeah, and alongside the football, we're heavily involved in the community. Our clubhouse is open 7 days a week to welcome anyone in the community who needs it.
And to keep up the good work, the club needs revenue. As well as what's generated on match days or what the tireless staff and supporters make from fundraising, that revenue comes from hiring out the club's function rooms.
This is our main function room, our bigger one. It holds up to about 180 people. Primarily we do birthdays, christenings, communions, football presentations.
And the odd wedding reception too, which can really boost the club's income. So in September 2022, when Joe got a call from a company which said it could market the function rooms directly to couples planning their big day, he was keen to find out more. The call came from a wedding planning website called UK Bride, which boasts over 1 million members and a whole host of wedding suppliers, including venues. The saleswoman wanted Bootle FC to sign up to the website's directory. And what really swung it for Joe was a free trial, which meant signing up with no commitment.
She reassured me that it'd be a 6-month free trial. I had nothing to lose. I just felt, in a way, to sort of end the call and move on with the rest of the day. I agreed to sign up.
With that, the club got its own listing on UK Bride, and they then started receiving details of any interested couples for Joe and his colleagues to follow up. But when the first leads came through, they were for weddings that involved a much bigger budget than the sort that the club would normally host.
They were pretty strange and random, so you would have like a small amount of guests, but then the budgets were quite high. So, for example, we've got one here that someone was looking for a wedding venue in 2025, between 25 and 50 guests, and the overall budget was £40,000 and the venue budget was £10,000, which just didn't sit right with me that someone would look for a wedding venue in Bootle for that amount of money.
In December, 10 weeks into the free trial, the leads hadn't improved, so Joe decided to cancel, a job which Joe, amongst other UK Bride customers, have told us is far trickier than it should be.
Initially, I emailed to say, could we stop the trial? I didn't receive any response.
Next, he tried the website, which told him he needed something called a stop code. Joe says he followed the instructions, but no stop code and no emails came back.
Early in the new year, I tried to call again. No one was available for me to talk to. Emailed again in February.
All his requests went unheeded.
You just assume that everything's going to be all right.
But it wasn't all right. And in April, UK Bride got in touch with an invoice for £2,398. Far from cancelling the club's membership, UK Bride was billing it for the next year. Assuming that this was a mistake, Joe picked up the phone.
I was quite abruptly told that that free trial period had ended and I would be invoiced for the following 12 months immediately, which had already taken place. Initially, I felt embarrassed to tell somebody else within the club that I possibly could have cost the club close to £2,500, and then I was angry because of the impact it would have on the club and its members.
Joe turned to his colleague and friend, Joe Johnson.
It was obvious on the phone call that he was really worried and scared, so I actually phoned UK Bride myself. I spoke to one of the ladies there and told her that we were disputing the invoice. She said, we'll see you in court.
And that wasn't an empty threat. The club is now facing a court summons. Worried about the upcoming battle, Joe did some research.
We found a Facebook group. When we looked into them, it's got over 1,300 members.
Just a group of people in the same situation as us, whether that be venues or photographers who've signed up for advertising, cake suppliers, room decorators. We've seen some real bad stories on Facebook, so we just hope that we don't have the same fate as those, and obviously we feel for those people as well.
These small companies hoped the leads would bring them business, but many found them either not appropriate or that they didn't lead to anything. And now they're facing financial ruin. While the team at Bootle FC are yet to get a resolution, Dominic Schrader chose to fight UK Bride in the courts. In 2020, he took the plunge on something he'd always dreamed of doing and opened up a woodland wedding venue as part of a small family business. When he first joined UK Bride, it felt like the start of a beautiful relationship.
They had beaming reviews. They looked like a reputable company and someone that we would like to get into business with, basically.
Within days of signing up to the 6-month free trial, he was getting dozens of potential leads. But despite painstakingly following them up, he never got a single reply. So, 3 months in, he decided to cancel.
Sending an email months before your free trial period has ended is more than sufficient time. I also think that sending an email saying you want to cancel is pretty clear.
But apparently not. Once the 6-month trial had elapsed, UK Bride invoiced him for £2,398.
They denied that I had cancelled my free trial period with them. I felt really frustrated and almost threatened by them because of their intimidating behaviour. We were a new business, having been slapped with quite a large invoice. It was daunting.
Despite those worries, Dominic stood his ground and refused to pay, even when UK Bride threatened court action.
I certainly felt stressed when you've got a large corporate company trying to chase you for an invoice for a free trial period that you thought you had cancelled. Yeah, it wasn't good.
In July 2023, they finally had their day in court. Much to Dom's relief, UK Bride's claim was unsuccessful and its subsequent request to appeal was also refused. It might be over, but Dom has spent 2 years fighting UK Bride rather than concentrating entirely on his own business.
It was an unneeded stress at the beginning of a new business venture. There was a huge sigh of relief when I walked out of that courtroom with a win and I was able to actually finally put this behind me.
Back in Bootle, Joe and the rest of the club can only hope for the same outcome.
If we lose a court, it'll impact us massively. Every penny counts in this club, so we just simply can't afford to lose.
Well, I'm joined now by consumer expert and business advisor Kate Hardcastle. Kate, welcome. Based on what we've just seen, the stumbling block for these people is when they want to cancel. And they tried, but UK Brides say either they didn't do it or they didn't do it in the right way, according to their T's and C's. Do you think that's right, and was it fair?
It doesn't seem fair when there's a maze to get through just to be able to switch something on or off. And that starts to see me questioning, is UK Brides and organisations like that actually working within the best interests of their customers? That's the best way to do business, authenticity and a respectful process. And this doesn't feel to be the case. We've seen small businesses jumping through hoops, now being threatened, who in theory have done everything they needed to cancel this contract that wasn't working for them. And I think an organisation worth its merit should be happy to take that cancellation on board because they should be confident enough to be able to sell their services elsewhere.
Well, one interesting thing is whether small businesses are protected against unfair terms, poor practice, or even sharp practice, if you want to put it like that, in the same way as consumers.
No, not really. It becomes quite complicated. Smaller businesses really do fall in the middle when it comes to a lot of this. And I think it's about trying to leverage any information, expertise that you can get. There are a lot of templates online, a lot of support groups. Also finding other businesses that might be going through similar issues through social media forums, but standing up for yourself, you know, holding your nerve, screenshot everything, time and date everything, write everything in a chronological order, and you're showing that you are actually rising above this melee of what might have gone on to the reality of what you did.
Well, you can understand small businesses jumping at the prospect of powerful marketing, but do listing sites like these actually help?
I think when you're a time-poor small business owner, it makes sense that you're going to look to any outlet to be able to help sell your message. But I can assure you that nothing works better in marketing for small businesses than actually word of mouth and testimonials. If I was a bride wanting to book my venue, I'd want to hear from other brides. So for me, that's a much more economical and a far faster acting solution, and that's where I'd be spending my money and time.
Great advice, Kate. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
When we spoke to UK Bride, it told us it has thousands of happy clients, more 5-star reviews than its main competitors combined, and that a large number of clients who signed up for free trials have gone on to renew their contracts. UK Bride said that in light of the fact that there are no guarantees on bookings or inquiries, clients are under no obligation to buy its service if the website and leads are not working for them. It stressed the cancellation process is simple and straightforward and is outlined clearly in the terms and conditions signed by all clients. And it added that 100% of all free trials are stopped if the client has obtained a stop code before their renewal date. UK Bride refutes that the process for chasing outstanding invoices is intimidating, stressing that it aims to resolve any disputes amicably and that the court money claims process is only ever used as a last resort. UK Bride also said that its contracts have been written and signed off by 2 law firms, and the terms of its free trial offer were reviewed by Trading Standards, which affirmed that its process for obtaining a stop code is clear.
Next, cost of living crisis or not, it's always been really important to know that every pound you spend is going to go as far as it possibly can. Almost a decade ago, we started talking about how supermarkets could make it easier for all of us to do exactly that by simplifying the information on their price labels. To help shoppers compare different prices and pack sizes, those shelf labels have to spell out not just the cost of whatever you're buying, but also what's called the unit price, or how much it costs per item, or by checking the weight of the entire pack and dividing it by the price, which could be a big help when it comes to comparing the value offered by different pack sizes. But in practice, it relies entirely on shops not bamboozling us all with impossible comparisons, as one of our producers, Katie, is here to demonstrate.
We've got some examples here that our team have spotted when they've been out shopping. First of all, we've got these from Sainsbury's, an everyday staple, British apples. So this pack cost us £1.70. The unit price you are given, as you can see there, is per apple, so they work out at 28 pence each. This is a kilogram bag, and the unit price is per kilogram, so that's all you're told, that you're getting these for £2 per kilo. So apple for apple, Angela, which one do you think is cheaper?
Well, I've no idea. For a start, these are smaller apples and there are more of them in the pack. So how can... It's not comparing like with like, is it?
Exactly, no. But you're right there. In order to work it out, we did have to count how many were in that bag, and these are cheaper at 20 pence each.
But as we say, they're a bit smaller, aren't they?
Yes. And you could only make a direct comparison on the weight if you got these out and put them on your scales
well, that's
at
not
home.
very helpful, is it? And both from the same supermarket?
Yes, so these are from Sainsbury's. Next we went to Asda, and we've got some wraps here, or tortillas. Lots of parents are shopping around for these. They're really big in children's lunch boxes. So this pack of 6 is 90 pence.
Yeah.
The unit price you're given is per wrap. So they're 15 pence each. Now this pack is £1.30, but the unit price is per 100 grams. So you are told that you're getting 100 grams for 43.3 pence.
Well,
which one do you think is cheaper?
I'm just looking at them, and it actually says that there are 10 of them in there, so actually the math on that is actually relatively straightforward. Yes. But I suppose you'd have to look at the packs very carefully to see what you were getting. And there again on the screen we can see 6 original at £1 at 15p each in the 90p pack. But 100 grams, well, it's you're not going to work it out, are you?
No, well...
It makes shopping too complicated.
That is well spotted. This is a slightly easier example. Because there are 10 in there, you can work out they are cheaper at 13 pence each. Yeah. But I don't think many shoppers have got the time or the patience to stand, you know, doing all that for every item they buy. And you would hope that to make a like-for-like comparison, it would all be a lot clearer.
Especially in the same store.
On the labels, yeah.
Now, you've also been buying toilet rolls.
Yes. What else? Now, we found that the unit pricing for these did vary between supermarkets. So some of the supermarkets we looked at gave a unit price per 100 sheets of toilet roll, and others gave a unit price per pack. So the 2 examples that we've got here are both from Tesco, and it varied even just within that one supermarket. So this one has a unit price per pack. So it's £5.45 for 9 rolls, as you can see on there as well. And this one gives a unit price per 100 sheets. So it's 16 pence per every 100 sheets on a roll, but the pack itself is £8.25. So any guesses, Angela?
No, my brain hurts.
I'm not surprised. This one is actually more tricky because this pack doesn't actually give us information on how many sheets there are on a roll, so we can't work out the unit price per 100 sheets. So I've had to work out a whole different unit pricing altogether to get an idea of value. This one works out at 61 pence per individual roll, and this one works out at 69 pence. So this one is cheaper per roll, but of course, we don't know how many sheets there are on a roll.
Which means it's absolutely impossible to do a like-for-like comparison. It just demonstrates how complicated it is. And I have to say, Katie, I am in awe of your patience in sitting and working out all of these different prices. You've done a magnificent job for us, but can we all take you shopping with us when we next go to the supermarket?
With my calculator.
With your calculator. No, you've done a brilliant job for us. But I think it is nothing new, because both Rip Off Britain and the consumer group Which have been talking about this very subject for almost a decade now. Here's a quick taste of the first time we covered it, way back in 2014, when we baffled shoppers at Bury Market. And I think you can tell how old this film is by just how low some of the prices seem.
Welcome to Bury. Shrewd shoppers here know a bargain when they see one. But can they work out the best deals on offer using the information from the labels on the supermarket shelves? These 2 boxes of cereal were on sale at a major supermarket, which chose to display the unit price of the shredded wheat original by biscuit, while the unit price on the bite-sized shredded wheat was displayed per 100 grams. So comparing the 2 required our shoppers to find out the weight of the original shredded wheat first.
$2.49 and $2.09. Shredded wheat's $2.09 and shredded wheat's very confusing. I can't find the how much is in it. Oh,
where's the grams on that?
Oh, I can't find the weight of them.
It seems all of these shoppers are none the wiser.
It is pretty well impossible to work that one out. That's per piece of shredded wheat, and that one is per 100 grams, isn't it?
The shredded wheat bite size are in fact better value, but in order to work this out, you would have to find out how much one shredded wheat original biscuit weighs. Information that's not easy to find on the box.
There's no way you can work this out when you're in daily shopping. You just haven't got the time. They should be more honest and more transparent.
Yeah, I think that all supermarkets should have a standard, whatever it is per 100 grams, or if you're buying in liquids, whatever it is per litre. And then you've got a good idea whether you're paying over the odds or whether you're getting a decent deal on it.
And this is exactly what consumer magazine Which has been campaigning for.
With unit pricing, the problem we found is that it's just inconsistent and often not clear. And what we're saying is that people need to be able to know the price that they're paying for food to get the best value. We've launched our Price It Right campaign, and we challenged all of the 10 major supermarkets to sign up to a set of voluntary commitments. If they care about their customers and their customers are telling us it's important, they need to do this.
The following year, Which submitted what's called a super complaint, urging the Competition and Markets Authority to investigate misleading pricing practices. And when it did, the CMA agreed that the law and the guidance on unit pricing should be changed. But that didn't happen. And here we are, so many years later, with the very same problem. Once again, the CMA is investigating. The question is, will anything actually change this time?
Well, I'm joined in the studio now by Lisa Webb from the consumer group Which. Now, Lisa, we saw Alex Neil there in the film. You were working at Which at the very same time, didn't you? And I hope you'll agree that that extraordinary exposé that Katie did of those particular items that she chose in the supermarket really puts all of this into perspective, doesn't it? So, you know, what has been going on in the meantime? We've said it's almost 10 years that we've been talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Which put its super complaint into the Competition and Markets Authority back in 2015. And we're still seeing the same issues we reported back then occurring now. So recommendations were made, guidelines were updated, supermarkets told us they would do better, but unfortunately we've been finding a lot of the exact same issues all over again. And this is largely down to the fact that the regulations surrounding this just haven't been updated. On top of that, we've got this introduction of loyalty pricing, where actually different people pay different things in the supermarket for the same items. And that's making it even more confusing for people to understand what the best value is, simply because that unit pricing doesn't always appear on promotional products.
Well, as I understand it, the Competition and Markets Authority are now going to get involved. Is their involvement going to mean that we are actually going to have a uniform, clear and consistent method of pricing?
Well, actually, the CMA has said Government, come on, change it, update it. And actually, the government has said they've done a risk analysis here to see what the changes could bring about. And they're predicting that you could see a cost saving to consumers of around £162 million in their first year of changes. Yeah. Now, those changes would be things like making sure that unit prices appear on promotional value prices, like your Nectar card or your Tesco Club card. Also, there's something called a small business exemption or small shop exemption. Now, that's because that price marking order, nearly 20 years old, exempted smaller convenience stores from having to show unit pricing. These days, those smaller stores are owned by the big national supermarkets, so they absolutely have the ability to put the prices and the unit prices on their shelves. So we really need to see those changes made, and then hopefully we'll see those savings for consumers.
Well, we spoke to the supermarkets about the comparisons that Katie demonstrated earlier. Tesco told us that it really does work very hard to keep unit pricing consistent across products. But in relation to the toilet rolls, we found very hard to compare. Tesco says a human error meant that the wrong unit price measure was put into its system for this one product, and it has pledged to put that right. Meanwhile, Sainsbury's response epitomised what you've been talking about, Lisa. It said that the Weights and Measures Act of 1963, going back even earlier, states that it can sell items such as apples by number, but get this, provided there are 8 or fewer in the pack, whereas anything above 8 has to be given a price by weight. Adds to the confusion. The British Retail Consortium agreed that many of the problems around unit pricings stem from the rules themselves. But they did stress that supermarkets really do work very hard to help consumers make informed choices about which products offer the very best value for money.
However, the Competition and Markets Authority told us that from what it's seen, some grocery retailers could do more to make it easier for shoppers to use unit pricing and spot the best prices. So the CMA has urged government to tighten up the rules, and it's written directly to the retailers it's most concerned about, calling on them to change their practices.
So a final thought from you, Lisa. How can people make sure they're getting the best value for money?
So there are general ways to save on shopping. Have a look at the budget and the own brand ranges, because very often those are not on promotion, so you'll see the price as it is. And one of the things we really want to see is promotional prices having unit pricing attached to them, because currently that's not consistent across the board.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed.
Ooh, mind-boggling amounts of maths there. Well, if you see a supermarket shelf label that could give members of Mensa a run for their money, then why not take a photo of it and send it to us so we can compile a veritable shopping basket of the worst offenders. ripoffbritain@bbc.co.uk is the email address.
That's a very good idea. Now, as you know, it's also the place to send any questions or problems that you'd like our team to dig into. They're always ready and willing, of course, to investigate your stories.
For now, though, I'm afraid that's unfortunately all we've got time for today. So from everybody here on the Rip Off Britain team, thanks so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Strange, unexpected stories. Listen in awe to the new series of Things Fell Apart on BBC Sense. And here's that big question. How do they make those? From pork pies to jeans. Press red to go inside the factory.